The Creepy Night Pasta mod just dropped, and not only is it a very well done mod, it also has some pretty good creepy pasta stories in it. The first one I want to speak about is going to be the Too Much Kirby, aka the TMK. This character is actually from a analog horror series that you can find on YouTube, specifically from a channel called Maple Riot. This story is interesting to me because TMK is basically a bug or a virus that a few playtesters found while playtesting the Kirby Superstar game back in the day. What they didn't know is that this bug doesn't just affect the game, but it also affects the person or people who are playing it. So this virus basically causes people to start to hallucinate and believe that they need to join the video game world. And of course, the only way to do this is to take themselves out of the living world, if you catch my drift. This is a super dark series, but it's definitely worth the watch if you have some time and if you're into analog horror in general. The second character we'll talk about is going to be the Selena Delgado, and this one is interesting because it actually happened in real life. But let me explain what I mean by that. There was a real broadcast back in the 90s in Mexico on Channel 5 that talked about missing people in general, but specifically this time about a missing woman by the name of Selena Delgado.
Pedimos ayuda para localizar a Selena Delgado López, de 18 años, se extravió el 22 de abril.
And this was fairly common at the time. The news station would give descriptions of missing people in hopes that someone would recognize them, or just to get people's awareness up so they would keep an eye out for these missing people. Think of a older version of Amber Alert. The reason that this woman became kind of an urban legend though is because the image was so low quality that some people didn't think it was real. And it also doesn't help that there's no real information about this woman on the internet, even when people go back and look at it today. Some people even say that it's AI generated. Now, the second character to pop up in this mod is called the Baton Rouge Slayer, and his image actually started popping up instead of Selena's. And this is where it gets really weird. The image that you see in the mod is actually very accurate to the police sketch of this actual Slayer. However, in real life, they messed up this man's picture by making him look, first of all, too feminine, and also they made him white, which he wasn't. And as you can probably imagine, this also fed into the paranoia of people who already suspected that the picture of Selena was fake to begin with. Now, something else that I find funny about this situation is that some people do believe that Selena was a real woman and is now a ghost that haunts the Channel 5 news station. And I find it fascinating that one image can just make people's mind run rampant. Next, we have Smile Dog, and this guy was actually in the channel trailer here.
I finally have a new toy with a new method of entertainment. I will get into your head and slowly destroy your mental health. Your soul will be mine.
I like the fact that Smile Dog is speaking to Boyfriend in the trailer because it does actually fit his MO. What I mean by that is that once you see Smile Dog's image, you will have to send the image to someone else, or Smile Dog will come out of whatever device you saw him on and attack you, or I guess hunt you down until he can actually attack you. This is why we can see the dog's head actually coming out of the screen in the FNF mod. And since Boyfriend isn't the smartest character in the world, I'm not surprised that he would attempt to actually battle the dog instead of trying to save himself by just sending it to somebody else. And the reason that there are two versions of Smile Dog in the mod is because there are actual multiple versions of the character. While he did originate from this image here, just a regular old husky, the internet has since turned him into many different demonic versions of a dog. So there's even more than this, but this mod only seemed to do two. The next character that I want to talk about is the Red Mist Squidward. And even though I've talked about this character before, the video that I made for him was restricted. So if some of you are underage, you may not have actually been able to see the video. So this time I'm going to try to explain it in a way that is more family friendly as to not upset YouTube, but just fair warning, it is a really dark story, so I'm going to do my best. Now the backstory actually goes like this. Back in 2005, there was an intern at Nickelodeon who was reviewing a SpongeBob episode called Fear of a Krabby Patty. Apparently, this intern was given the task to watch it a few days before it was actually going to go on air for the rest of the world to see. And I suppose he was supposed to do a quality check, right? To make sure that it was acceptable for the world to see. Now, when the video actually started playing, he was greeted with the title for the episode, which is called Squidward's Sue. The intern thought that this was some type of joke, so he just continued to watch the video, which began with Squidward practicing his clarinet. But soon after that, Squidward had to stop for a moment because he hears SpongeBob in the background laughing. We basically get this scene where Squidward is yelling at SpongeBob to keep it down because he has a concert to practice for, and SpongeBob agrees and just goes off to find Sandy and Patrick. In the next scene, we see that Squidward is now at the concert hall that he was talking about, hiding behind the curtains because he seems to be nervous about his performance. The episode then cuts right to the point where Squidward is actually standing on stage in front of a full crowd getting ready to perform, still visibly nervous. Now when he starts to play his clarinet, the audience is disgusted almost immediately because Squidward kind of sucks. And when I say they are disgusted, I mean they boo him aggressively. They actually kind of remade this scene in the mod, but when you listen to Squidward play here, he's actually pretty good. Now, another strange occurrence in this scene is that the fish in the crowd, like in general, they all have these weirdly realistic, extremely bloodshot eyes. And after seeing this, Squidward is obviously and kind of rightfully traumatized. Now, when we cut over to the next scene, it actually shows Squidward in his home, sitting on his bed in complete silence. But he only stays like that for a moment because then he starts to cry softly, like putting his tentacles over his eyes. And in my opinion, this is where the actual creepypasta starts to get really weird. A sound similar to a light breeze starts in the background, slowly getting louder and louder. And as that's happening, the screen is slowly zooming into Squidward's face as his sobbing just turns into like full-blown ugly crying. The windy sound then turns into like a full-blown gale wind, and very faintly, the sound of children laughing can be heard in the background. Next, we see that the screen continues to blur and twitch violently as gory images flash over the screen for just a single frame as Squidward continues to have his breakdown. And to make matters worse, at this point, his tears actually start to turn red and the wind sound gets even louder. Then we start to hear the children laughing again, but now their laughter is getting deeper and more demonic as more gory images pop up on the screen. Next, the room goes completely silent and we see Squidward actually remove his tentacles from his face, and now he has those big red hyper-realistic eyes and he's looking right at you, basically breaking the fourth wall, Deadpool style. And we actually see this part of the story reflected in the FNF mod. A lot of people don't know where this particular image of Squidward is from, but this is definitely from the Red Mist creepypasta, and it's actually one of the more famous images of Squidward from this creepypasta. Now, after that scene, there's a deep, monstrous voice that speaks, and basically he tells Squidward to do it. Hearing this, Squidward actually reveals to the camera that he is holding what we see here in the mod, and he places it in his mouth. And I think you know what he does next. The episode then ends with Squidward laying very still, and the intern and his bosses are so shocked by this that they spend a lot of time trying to figure out what weirdo actually created this sick episode. But even to this day, it's still a mystery. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this video on the screen here. Subscribe today to become a member of the Orse Force. We are almost at 1 million subscribers, and we will see you tomorrow with another video. Peace, peace.